This is the completed solar panel that we'll be talking about in this video. It takes 6 solar cells. Each cell is 2 inches by 1.5 inches and rated at 0.35 watts. Basically, we just solder them together and mount them on a piece of foam that we get from the meat department. Before we get started in making a solar panel, I'd like to say a few words about the solar cells. Now, the solar cells that we'll be using are shown here second from the right. They're 1.5 inches by 2 inches, and they're quite large. They give off 700 milliamps, and that's a lot of power. The transmitter that we'll be using only requires 70 milliamps. Now, you need more than just 70 milliamps because when the sun is very low after sunrise or just before sunset, you need a lot more than just 70 milliamps max from your solar cells. So you need several times that. I've successfully used the solar cells which are second from the left. They're much lighter. You can create a solar panel out of these that weighs about 5.5 grams compared to the larger ones, which will come out to be about 9.5 grams. But the other thing I want to say is, first of all, these are all polycrystalline solar cells, but none of them are currently available. They come on the market, you can buy a bunch of them, and then a new model will come out. And that's basically what happens to all electronics. Over time, the electronics becomes obsolete. But here we have some solar cells that are on Amazon that are currently available. You get 100 of them for $16, and they give off 400 milliamps, which should be plenty. The only issue is that they're a little bit different in size than the ones that we've been using or talking about. These are 2 inches wide by 3/4 of an inch. So you'd have to adjust the plans that are in the discussion accordingly. Here's another example. Here's 50 solar cells for $5 and $2.50 of shipping. These are a square 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches and give off a 0.5 amp or 500 milliamps. So these would be adequate as well. But you just have to adjust the size of the panel, the size of the support to accommodate the different size of the cell. I have a few more comments about solar cells. You'll see on the market these flexible panel solar cells. And why can't we use these instead of building something like this? Well, for one thing, this produces maybe 1/4 the energy that this panel will produce. With this, you can't run the transmitter. You need several of these to actually run the transmitter continuously. This will run the transmitter continuously even at very, very low angles. The other difference is cost. This costs about $6, whereas this costs maybe 25 cents or 10 cents to make. Now, a lot of transmitters do use these, but they use these to charge up a supercapacitor, and then they run the transmitter off the supercapacitor. Again, additional cost for the supercapacitor. Weight-wise, they come out to be about the same because of the weight of the supercapacitor, and cost-wise, this is far better and far simpler. So these are the solar cells that we're going to be using. You get about 100 or 50 of them in a pack for under $10. You can see they're very thin. They're pretty delicate, but they can withstand a little bit of abuse. They're a little bit hard to handle. They're very thin and light. And we'll be soldering these together with some wires. Okay, to build this solar panel, you're going to need 9 pieces of wire, about 6.5 centimeters long, to connect the panels up, connect the little cells up. I use 26 gauge wire. It's nice and thin and flexible. I take the wire and I have to remove the insulation. Now, you can do it various ways. This is how I do it. I take a knife and I use it to just go along the wire and slice off 1/2 the insulation. I turn it over, slice off another little piece. This helps me get the insulation off. Yeah, you can see that. Comes right off, and you're done. Now, before you start soldering, there's some planning you need to do. Planning has to do with where you're going to put the wire. You can see on the top, on this cell, you can put the wire anywhere. You can go this way or it can go this way. On this cell, you'd probably want to have the wire to go this way. But you have to turn the cell over and look and see where the wire goes best on the bottom. And then you have to determine where you're going to put the wire on the top. So you have to do a little bit of planning so that the wires come out on opposite sides nicely. Okay, so what we need to do is put some solder on this wire, and then we'll use the solder on the wire to connect to the solar cell. So what we do is we heat the wire up, and we touch the solder to the wire, not to the soldering gun, and we make these nice little beads spaced along the line. About a ½ inch to 3/4 of an inch. Okay, there. Alright, so then we take and we tape down the wire onto the board that we're using. I use a piece of tile, and then we quickly melt move it along. See how fast I'm moving? I'm not dilly-dallying. That's it. We're done. It's soldered. It's important to go quickly, just fast enough to melt the solder. You don't want to hold the soldering iron on there for a long period of time. It's just watch it and see the rhythm that I've used. So for doing the back of the cell, the next step is very similar. We put beads of solder on the wire. Okay, when I do the back, I typically put a Kleenex underneath it because there's a big bump from the solder on the face, and I want to distribute the stress on the cell so it doesn't crack. So we're going to do the same thing with the back. And the back is soldered. Okay, assembling two cells together is very similar. Same process. Get the we're done. If you noticed, I didn't use any flux. It adheres perfectly without flux. The contact on the cell is treated in such a way that the solder works and sticks just perfectly when it's done this method. Now, if it's too hot, if your iron is too hot or other things, you may have issues. Okay, so once you've soldered the cells together, you're ready to mount them on a backing, a support for the cells. The support for the cells is made from the foam from a meat department. You buy meat, you get a piece of foam underneath the meat, and that's what you use to make the mounting. It's simple. There's a template on the website that you can download. It's 5 inches by 6 inches with a cutout. Once you cut it out, you can then place it on the foam and use scissors or a sharp knife. You tape it down, use scissors or a sharp knife to create the backing. So once you've mounted once you've cut out the panel, you then can mount the solar cells on the panel. So I use a E6000 glue, and I put some glue here and some glue here, some glue here and some glue here, some glue here and some glue here. Super glue doesn't work. And putting the glue here and here secures the cell, but it allows the cells to expand and contract with temperature. Once you've glued them on, then you can connect the three panels together. You connect the bottom of one to the top of the next. You connect the top of the one to the bottom of the next. So you need to remember, before you glue these on, that the top of one has to be next to the bottom of the other. So if you have all the tops on this side, it's not going to work. I've made that mistake. Then you're done. The way you test these is you put them into full sun, and you connect up a 50 ohm resistor across the cell. And if it reads 3 volts, it's working fine. 3 volts will give you about 60 milliamps, and that's exactly what we need for the transmitter.